Hi everyone, welcome back to HowTechs. Today we have the Le Pro 3 by LeEco. And let's take a look at the box first. It's a nice quality box, actually not very big, kind of slim for a smartphone. And on the back we can see the model that we have. This is the 6 gigabytes of memory version with 64 gigabytes of storage. For this phone you can either get it with 4 or 6 gigabytes of memory, and for the storage it comes in either 32, 64, or 128 gigabyte configurations. On the back here it's just a bunch of, actually mostly Chinese marketing messages, some details about the phone, which I'll go over later. And it says it's not just a phone, it's a complete multimedia mobile device, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so let's take a look inside the box. Here's the phone itself, and then on the side we have some accessories, USB-C cable in white, the charger brick itself, and USB on the back, LeEco, and it's the fast charger, 3.6 volts to 8 volts, and it also does 12 volts with 2 amps. And it also comes with this accessory, which if you're an iPhone 7 owner you might recognize as something similar to the adapter for the headphone jack, in this case to the USB-C. So this phone does not come with a headphone jack on the bottom, so just like an iPhone 7 you need to use an adapter if you want to use a traditional 3.5 millimeter headphone on here. So here's the phone itself. Let's take a look at that in a second. First let's open this guy up, and we have just a small info packet with the SIM removal tool and some documentation. Let's take a quick look at this. So this is the China version phone, so let's see, if we're lucky we'll even have English on here. No English. A little bit of information on how to remove the SIM, how to load the SIM, dual SIM tray, and what everything is on the phone, and we'll go over that in a second. So like a lot of these low budget phones, it doesn't actually come with the headphones. So let's take a look at the phone and go over some of the specs on it. So this is the silver version. It also comes in rose gold, gold, and gray in addition to silver. So I guess if you don't have an iPhone but you really like rose gold, you can get a LeEco. So let's take a look at the screen. This is a 5.5 inch LCD screen, and it only does 1080. So it's not super high resolution, but it's probably good enough for a mobile device, especially at this price point. Let's take a look at the bottom. We have the USB-C connector. We have microphone and speakers on the bottom. On the back, we have some info about the dual SIM, fingerprint sensor, and the 16 megapixel camera, as well as the dual LED flash. And then on the front, we have front-facing camera, which is 8 megapixels, the speaker for your earpiece, as well as the light sensor, proximity light sensor. And on the side we have basically on-off switch, screen activation, whatever you want to call it, and then a up-down volume rocker. On the top we actually have, not too common these days, but still can find on a lot of Android phones, you have an IR blaster as well as the noise cancellation microphone. And then on the other side you only have the SIM tray with this small removal hole. And then of course I should mention that this actually comes with a case, which is this clear plastic one, so it's good that you don't have to go out and buy one unless you want to change it. So it's actually a soft plastic, which is, I've found, the best because it's sort of absorptive, but it's not too bulky. The phone itself is pretty substantial, about 175 grams. It's pretty solid build. And let's take a look at the screen. Very nice. And this they call the 2.5D glass, which I'm, as near as I can tell, is just because they're sort of, and you can somewhat see, there's sort of a curved bevel on the edge, which looks nice, especially in the reflection. There you can see it on the stormtrooper's head as he comes in and out. But it's not 3D, it's not curved, it's just kind of beveled. Okay, so that's the hardware. Let's clear some space and then power it up. Okay, so now it's powering up. Okay, so this one has actually already been set up, so luckily I guess that saves us a lot of trouble. It's a really nice screen. It's 1080 by 1920 pixels, which is about 403 ppi, and it's an LCD IPS capacitive touchscreen with 16.7 million colors, and it's a 5.5 inch display. Let's take a look around a little bit. So first, under the hood, we can go to about the phone and see some information. So this is the EUI version 5.8 on Android 6.0.1, and it's a Snapdragon 821 4-core processor at 2.35 gigahertz. And let's go back home. Also, I think you can see on the lower bar here, you can see that these icons light up for the buttons when you touch them. So if I go to the home button, it's actually the LeEco logo, and also the back button, and this, I guess it's the apps and control panel button. So you can see here that you can actually control what tasks are running, switch between them, as well as do some basic functions, control the music player, turn the Wi-Fi on and on, etc. Switch to airplane mode, and there's tons of options. Turn on and off Bluetooth, hotspot, etc., etc. So that's their way of getting into it. You can also see that the memory available right now, we basically have nothing running, and there's 4.5 gigabytes of the 6 gigabytes available, which means basically just running the Android right now is taking about 1.5 gigabytes of RAM. So if you were to have gotten the 4 gigabyte memory version, you'd basically be down to 2.5. So keep that in mind. Maybe the 6 gigabyte is actually better for everything. So let's go back up. There's no music and pictures on here, so let's take some pictures. And you have basically 4 choices here: panorama photo, regular photo, video, and slow-mo. So there's no time-lapse option. It's pretty standard, pinch to zoom, etc., etc. You can autofocus by touching different spots. So let's go and take a picture of our stormtrooper, and let's zoom in on his face. Not too bad. And you have typical settings here. So in this case, for the camera, you can put on a timer, turn on and off the shutter sound. You can add geotagging, adjust the exposure, contrast, ISO, all those advanced settings. For the picture size, you could basically do 4:3 ratio or 16:9, and then you can do a high and low file size basically. And so those are your options on that. Switch to the front-facing camera, flash. You can do auto, always on or always off. Let's leave it in auto. So in video mode, you also have some settings. You can turn on or off geotagging. You can turn the shutter sound on and off, and you can also adjust the video quality. In this case, you have 3 options: 720p, 1080p, or 4K video. So if we try this one, let's try to shoot some 4K video, and you can actually see the file size while you film a video. And since I just picked the biggest one, it's actually super huge. So 10 seconds is already almost 50 megabytes. So you have to be really careful about using this one. You can also take still pictures while shooting video. And let's take a look at some of those. So here's my 4K video. And you can hear me talking. And it gives you some options to edit. Let's take a look at some of the photos. So these were the ones I took while shooting the video. Here's some of the close-ups I took. There's some other ones I took previously. Not super sharp, as you can see. Considering how close I am, you would hope that there would be more detail. So this was already a digital zoom. So when I zoom in further, you can see the pixelation, but considering how close that object really is, I'm surprised there's not more detail in here. So it might be 16 megapixels, but it's not super sharp. So that's basics of the camera. Let's see the slow motion as well. So with slow-mo, they actually have an icon that says 4x, but you can't actually adjust it. So let's take a video, show it really fast. And let's watch that one. And apparently no sound, but it does have high speed. So you can see me moving in slow motion. So app-wise, it comes with a bunch of standard apps as well as some LeEco specific ones, including their sports app and their mall app, etc. And it also has the Play Store. So hopefully the version you receive if you've ordered this online includes that, so you can download other apps as well. And it has the file manager actually out in the open. It's not hidden like on some phones. You know, it's swipe up to get to search, it's swipe down to get to notifications. It's just a little bit different than some of the other Android phones you might be used to. So it might take a little getting used to. Even some stuff like the app icon design. This is actually the messaging. It looks to me like not exactly like a message app. This is the browser. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but it's supposed to be the browser. So, you know, it's great that it's unique and original, but it's also kind of a little bit tricky to figure out. I wouldn't mind if they just kept the normal apps. But, you know, those are probably things that you can get used to. Or hopefully maybe in the settings you can turn those off. Even the UI looks very familiar. It reminds me a lot of iOS. Let's look at it like, for example, in the settings here. This is an iPhone 7 Plus running iOS 10. So you can see it's just very similar. The airplane mode, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. I mean, literally it's almost icon for icon the same layout, to the point where it's LeCloud and iCloud. So keep that in mind. So after using this phone for a couple hours, just demonstrating and trying it out, I'm kind of getting the hang of it, but it is really touchy on the screen and some of the buttons, and some things I don't like if you scroll over, it brings up some of these built-in apps and stuff. So it's kind of a little bit annoying sometimes. I'm hoping there's a way to turn those off. Also, these built-in apps on the bottom. Some of the icons are weird, like this is the messaging one. The phone one, I guess, looks like a phone. Live is actually their video streaming app, and I actually found out that probably one of the biggest benefits is that you get access to the Le TV streaming service built in with the phone, and it actually didn't even require me to log in or give any ID info. It just works from the start. And so you can navigate through. I'm not sure if this is going to work everywhere, but basically, at least in Hong Kong, where I'm at right now, this is what I mean about the annoying interface. So somehow I told it to turn off. But anyway, but you get a bunch of choices. This is mainly mainland China TV, but they have other things. They have different TV programs. They've got movies. You can see different kinds of action movies, etc., etc. So let's click on this guy. This is actually, I think, a Jackie Chan movie. And it gives you some options here. You can bring up a menu. This is all, even though the phone is set in English, this is all in Chinese. But basically, this is, different types of movies. You can do action movies. The one I just had open was this Chow Yun-Fat US movie with Stifler. But basically you can pull up and scroll through some of the other options here. This is an old Jet Li movie. Hopefully works. So probably you could still click around even if you can't read Chinese. You can probably figure things out if you play around with it enough. And you can also choose, probably the coolest thing is you can actually set the quality so you can get even 1080p off of this thing if you're connected to Wi-Fi. And the speed is pretty good. And it gives you it's kind of set up like a video streaming app, so there's information about how many people are watching and other things like that, which are kind of strange for streaming TV, but maybe not so much for streaming video. I don't know if there's any kind of self-screencasting people here too, but basically that's probably the coolest single thing about this phone that I've seen so far. I haven't really tried out all these other ones yet, but you can get access to sports information too. If you're really into Chinese Basketball Association games, you can watch those as well. So there is some benefits to this phone that maybe outweigh the deficiencies on the quality and the interface and some of the other issues that I've had, and the fact that it just feels like it's a giant iPhone iOS kind of ripoff on the interface here. But it's not too bad. So that's basically the unboxing and initial impressions of the LeEco Le Pro 3. If you have any questions or comments or feedback, please leave a comment. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and please be sure to check out our how-to videos for this phone and many others here on HowTechs. Thanks, and see you later. But the steps are the same for both phones, so don't worry if yours is a little bit different than this one. Basically, what you want to do first to remove the SIM card is